Marie had lived with her grandmother ever since she was born. The girl knew that her parents didn't want her, so her grandmother took the girl in immediately after birth. Now her parents were no longer alive, but Marie never asked her grandmother what happened to them. They were complete strangers to her. Different people often came to see her grandmother. Marie didn't understand what was happening, but she knew that whenever someone came by, she needed to sit quietly in her room and not get in the way. The girl knew that her grandmother was helping them. When Marie turned 12, the girl started seeing and feeling things that others couldn't. It was frightening, so she often locked herself in her room and cried. "Honey, I've noticed that you've been crying a lot lately. What's wrong? What's the reason for all your tears?" Grandma once asked. Marie did her best to explain everything. She hugged her granddaughter and sighed heavily. "So you did inherit this gift from me. It's not easy, but I'm sure you can handle it." Ever since then, the grandmother told her granddaughter everything she knew and could do. Now, Marie's grandmother was dying. The girl was desperate to do something to help her, but her grandmother's hours were numbered, and there was nothing anyone could do. "How can I live without you?" 15-year-old Marie sobbed. "Honey, there's nothing you can't handle. You'll be fine. Trust me." Those were Marie's grandmother's last words. Marie knew that she would be taken to an orphanage, so she decided to run away instead. She didn't quite understand where or how she would live, but the girl still packed up a few things immediately after the funeral and left. Peter stopped by his daughter's room to say goodbye before leaving for work. "I'll try to get back earlier today," Allison's father kissed her. The girl sighed. "Daddy, can't we hire someone?" The father looked at his daughter in bewilderment. "Darling, we've already changed about a dozen nurses. What's wrong this time?" "Maybe we can find someone outside the agency? I know they're professionals. They do their job perfectly. They give me injections and do all the procedures, but they don't feel real, you know? Sometimes I just want to talk to someone. I want a warm human relationship." "Okay, honey, I'll think about it." 5 years ago, Peter Walsh was a truly happy man who had a great family. But now he had to go to a cemetery to visit his wife and his daughter, who was terminally ill. Despite the fact that Peter didn't spare any money for her treatment, the doctor said that it was impossible to cure her and that the disease would only get worse with time. His daughter had been bedridden for a year now. Sometimes Peter wanted to scream in frustration. He had to watch his child fade away, and there was nothing he could do to help her. Nevertheless, Peter found the strength to hold on. He simply had no other choice. He had to be strong in order to support his daughter, although she was no longer little and understood perfectly well what was going on. Peter finished his work for the day as quickly as possible and stopped by the supermarket to get some groceries on his way home. He decided to buy something sweet for Allison. Although the doctors didn't allow her to eat sugar, Peter knew that it would make her very happy. As he was leaving the supermarket, Peter noticed a girl standing nearby. Her appearance made it clear that she wasn't going through the best times in her life. "Excuse me, is there anything I can help you with?" Peter asked the girl. She smiled shyly and said, "I'm sorry. I'm really embarrassed to admit, but I'm very hungry and I completely ran out of money." Peter looked around. "There's a cafe around the corner. Let's go. It'll be my treat." The girl looked about 15 years old, but her eyes, the look in her eyes, seemed very grown up. Marie ate everything that Peter ordered with a great appetite. "Marie, where do you live? I could take you home. Or maybe someone could pick you up?" Marie pushed her plate away. "I don't have anyone. I used to live with my grandmother in the countryside, but she died 7 months ago, so I came to live in the city. I lived with an old woman for half a year. I did all her housework, but then she moved to live with her kids." "And now you have nowhere to go?" Marie nodded. "How old are you?" "I'll be turning 16 soon. Don't worry, I have all my documents." Marie reached into her bag. Peter definitely liked this girl. She impressed him with her modesty and sincerity. He thought it would be great to have such a person spend time with Allison. "Listen, Marie, I have an idea. How would you like to stay at my house? I have a daughter, Allison." "Is she sick?" Marie asked suddenly. "How did you know?" Peter was surprised. "When you mentioned your daughter, you lowered your eyes and looked sad, so I thought..." "Yeah, she is seriously ill. We have a nurse and a housekeeper in the house, but she really needs someone to keep her company." "I'd love to," Marie answered without hesitation. You don't even want to ask how much I'm willing to pay you?" Peter was surprised. "It doesn't matter," the girl replied. "I should probably tell you what's wrong with my daughter," Peter said on their way home. "No, you shouldn't. If Allison wants to share, she'll tell me herself." The man was surprised at the wisdom of such a young girl. Having arrived at Peter's house, the man showed Marie to her room. The girl was delighted. She had never seen, and even more so, she had never lived in such a beautiful room. "Well, let's go. I'll introduce you to Allison." Peter knocked on Allison's door. "Hello, honey." "Hi, Dad," the girl answered sadly, her voice barely audible. "I'm not alone. Meet Marie. She's a very nice girl, and I'm sure you two will become great friends." "Hi, Marie." "I'll leave you two for a while so you can talk," Peter said, and left the room. Marie walked up to Allison and looked at her intently. Allison felt as if Marie's gaze penetrated inside her. The sensations were strange, and the girl was frightened. "Don't be afraid. Everything will be fine," Marie smiled and reassured her. When Peter returned, he heard something he hadn't heard in a long time. His daughter's laughter. "So, how are we doing here? Dinner will be ready in 15 minutes. Peter expected his daughter to say that she wasn't hungry, as she always did. But something strange happened. "Daddy, can I also have dinner in the dining room tonight? I'm so bored here." Peter was taken aback. "Of course, honey. I'll bring your wheelchair." Up until that moment, Allison was adamant against using her wheelchair. 2 weeks later, Allison was unrecognizable. Peter saw that for some incomprehensible reason, his daughter was getting better. And it wasn't just Peter. "That's not a regular girl. It must have been God who sent her here," the housekeeper told the man. Peter didn't really believe in miracles until one day, as Peter was getting ready for work, Marie asked him not to drive that day and take a different route to work. The girl insisted so much that Peter got a taxi and instructed the driver to take a specific route. Imagine the man's surprise when he saw the news about a huge pileup on the highway, exactly at the time and place when he was supposed to be there. The man hurried home to thank the girl and ask her how she knew. But as the man approached his daughter's room, he saw that the door was open and froze. "I told you to get up," he heard Marie's voice addressing Allison. "But I can't. I'm sick," she answered. "Who told you that? Give me your hand and get up immediately." Looking into the room, Peter froze at what he saw. His daughter took her foot off the wheelchair footboard, and then the other foot, and then she stood up. It wasn't easy and her legs could barely hold her, but she was standing up. "And you said you couldn't," Marie said, holding up Allison. "I'm standing. I'm walking!" Allison screamed and started laughing. Peter stepped back. He didn't care who Marie was or what power she had. She had his daughter back on her feet. He was ready to pray for her all his life. The girl he picked up on the street would never end up back there. He would do everything in his power to make sure she was never in need of anything. 3 months later, when Allison went to the hospital for her checkup, the doctor shrugged. "I don't know what to say. It's some kind of miracle." But miracles don't really happen in life. The doctor looked inquiringly at Peter. "Are you sure about that?" Peter smiled.